It seems like the consensus online is that developing a tabletop game is all about two things, mechanics and theme. So how do I, someone who doesn't know a ton about deck builders to begin with, get started developing the mechanics and the theme for my deck builder? Real quick, before we dive in, if you're here, it's probably because you're curious about stuff. I'm curious about stuff, we try things, we experiment. If that's the case, then I have a podcast recommendation for you. My friend Julie's podcast is all about indulging that curiosity. She has really interesting people on and asks them really interesting questions. Julie interviews experts in all sorts of subjects about their fields and about themselves. People from the arts and the sciences and the trades. And she really goes out of the way to learn about the people behind the expertise. Subscribe to Planet B612 on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever quality pods are cast. I'm a big fan. I subscribed. I'm always looking for the next episode. Links, of course, are in the description down below. Just to recap what the project is, I am working on a deck building game. It is based on the kind of single combat that you often see in sci-fi film and TV, where you have one big spaceship versus one big spaceship, and they're slugging it out to see who wins. These are larger ships in larger battles that are more like games of chess than they are like dogfights. So that's where we left off in the last video. In response to that video, over on Reddit, holodeckdate said, "I'm a big proponent of theme, and I think it's super important to refine it in such a way that your audience doesn't dismiss it as another version of X. That's not to say your theme is that. We would have to know more. But you should start thinking about how your space battle theme is different from the other space battle themes." Okay, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about theme. If you, like me when I started this project, are not super up with the board game lexicon, let's define our terms. BoardGaming.com says that a game theme refers to the subject matter the game is built around. This can be abstract or concrete. Mine is pretty concrete, right? A single combat between two spaceships and their crews. Great.
Board Game Geek says that thematic games contain a strong theme which drives the overall game experience, creating a dramatic story or narrative.
If I have any superpower in this, it's probably writing, so I'm gonna be leaning heavily into the thematic aspects. This so far sounds like what I'm doing. So back to Holodeckdate's comment. What are the things that actually define my theme? When I started this process, I began by brainstorming just a list of things that I thought were interesting from the sci-fi film and TV that form the inspiration for this game. Things like the perspective from the captain's chair, you being in the center of the action deciding who does what. A colorful and diverse crew at their battle stations, with specialists doing incredible things in the heat of battle. Cool gadgets and ship systems, and creative use of technology during combat. The tactical officer calling out shield strength as enemy fire pummels your ship. Shields down to 20%, that kind of thing. Targeting the enemy subsystems like weapons, shields, engines, their warp core. And then ships maneuvering around one another in a dance until one is disabled or destroyed. But then, like, the really exciting stuff for me is the stuff that's kind of ancillary to the actual battle itself. And it's the chaotic, catastrophic stuff that happens as a result of the battle. Consoles exploding, coolant leaking, bulkheads collapsing, conduits rupturing, reactors going critical, hulls breaching, and red shirts getting sucked out into space. All that stuff that when it happens in the show, you go, oh, it's horrible, and then you laugh, because you also are a little bit horrible. And that's the good part. It's like surprising and terrifying, and maybe just kind of a little bit actually freaking hilarious too. So I think if I was going to say what sets this apart, not having done a massive comprehensive audit of the other sci-fi themed deck builders out there, that's the thing that sets the theme apart. I'm not recreating an episode of the show. I'm not sending away teams. I'm not building star empires. I'm not doing massive fleet actions with tons and tons of ships on the board at any one time. What happens between the ships is way less important to me than what happens on board your ship. What happens on the bridge, what happens because of and to your crew. The scope, the point of view is really tight on that area and those interactions. So you may be able to tell that the theme is very, very important to me. And just naturally for me, it came before any of the mechanics started to really coalesce. Turns out that I'm what they call on the internet a theme-first developer. What I'm essentially coming up with is moments or fragments of story that I want to occur during the game. I am trying to craft the pieces of the story that players will be able to tell their friends once the game is over. But despite the fact that right here I have the first prototype of the game, at this stage in the process that I'm describing, it's not a game yet. It's a collection of moments and ideas and tropes and concepts. Now, like I implied in my last video, the connection between the theme and the mechanics is super, super important to me. It is maybe more important than just getting the theme right, that the theme and the mechanics are really closely linked. The experience of playing the game should be as inseparable as possible from the ideas that I'm trying to express thematically. So the next step will be mechanizing those ideas, taking them and adding appropriate game mechanics that are kind of inextricable from the ideas themselves. And for that, I will see you in the next video. I would love to hear what you think about all this in the comments. Are there ideas or tropes or really cool moments from sci-fi that you think I should try and replicate? Stuff that happens in sci-fi that would be fun or funny to see replicated in a deck builder? Let me know in the comments below, and please ask any questions you have. Comments like the one that you Holodeck Date and some of the other folks on Reddit had were really helpful in getting me thinking not just about the game, but also about my own process in creating the game. And hopefully we can all learn a little bit about the process together. Until next time, I'm Trevor. You've been watching Love Make Share. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you've been inspired. Now, go make something.